All right. Everyone should have some type of a message saying that I'm starting the recording.
Yep.
Um, Real quick. Okay. So you're seeing my Revit screen here, right? Everyone
Mhm.
seeing that?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Is is it better? Okay. And I realized this the other day. But is it better if I stop sharing this screen and put my Revit on this monitor? Or does this make it worse for people? Or is it about the same? So this is a 4K monitor, the other one's not. So sometimes you can see more, right? But it also makes it smaller. So
It looks the same.
it looks roughly the same. Okay, well that's fine. I'm gonna keep presenting off this because it's a little easier for me to see. Um, but if it was screwing everything up, I would happily go back to a different monitor resolution and make it a little easier to see, right? Okay. So yeah, I just thought about that the other day because I was seeing my 4K monitor in one of my videos. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're having issues with that. So, all right. So today we are going to look at putting together this packet. Last week we built a single sheet, right? And you can watch that video if you need to go review how to build the enlarged views. But we built it in a sheet called, and I called it A105, and we put on the enlarged floor plan as well as my four interior elevations, and we built this cool little 3D view of that room, right? Everyone remember that? All right. So that was one sheet, right? I told you there's probably going to be 6 sheets or more. Um, you may have 10, you may have the minimum you should probably have is 6. Okay. If you have more, if you want to, like Daniel's project, his elevations are so detailed and big, he's just doing one elevation per sheet. Totally fine. However, some of you may seem like, why do I want to put all these on different sheets? They could all fit on this sheet, right? Just fine with all the dimensioning and all the detailing I need showing, right? So it's all project dependent, right? If it's too messy if there's too much going on, let's add another sheet, right? There's no issue to adding another sheet. I've in my life, I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I've probably built like probably about 14,000 sheets over my career. Um, Adding a sheet for an extra detail is 10 times easier than to try to detail at a scale that it's hard to read, right? So it's much easier just to build a new sheet, throw a new view on it, and even if there's only one view that lives on that sheet, right? Now it's big enough for you to see, and it's something that you're not building another sheet is not harming anything, right? It's one more page of your PDF plan set. Who cares, right? So last week we built one. Today we're gonna finish out the packet and build the remaining sheets. So let's just go ahead and we're gonna walk through the sheets and we're gonna build these other 6 sheets. Now again, if you want to build 3 more exterior elevation sheets, I've got no problem with that, right? If you don't think all your views can fit, just fine. But let's just go ahead and walk through how to create the sheets that we need, right? So last week we created this one, and I called it A105. Typically, the A stands for architectural, right? These are architectural plans. We're not dealing with electrical plans or mechanical plans. This is, an architectural detail. So I called it A. Typically, you don't just have a sheet number one, sheet number two. It's always typically a 3-digit acronym if you're putting together a plan set. So we're gonna build the rest of the sheet. So let's just start by building the title page sheet or the cover page, and we're going to call it just A101. So if I right click on the sheets in my project browser and click new sheet, I want to create a new E30 by E1, which is a 30 by 42. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now since I called that other one A105, Revit's trying to be smart and it's saying, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and follow suit. Now, does that mean it's right? Absolutely not, right? You still need to have some manual input, right? So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it A101, and I'm going to, or give the sheet number A101, and I'm going to give the sheet name something like 3D house overall. Okay. And so right now I could go through and drop my views on my sheets. However, I want to be efficient with our time. And so let's go ahead and just repeat this process a few times. We'll walk through it together. And the second or third time you do it, it becomes easier. So let's go ahead and build out another sheet. So again, we're going to right click on sheets, new sheet. And since I called that last one A101, Revit might remember and might think, hey, that A105 he had earlier, I made it A106, but he renumbered it to 101. 101's a recent one. So maybe, just maybe, it's going to follow suit. And it does, right? So Revit learns from you. If you change a name of something and make a new sheet, it's going to try to adapt to what you just did. Okay. Is it always right? Again, no, it's not. But once you do it once and set it up right, I could build 40 sheets in a row and it would name them A101 through 140, right? So you can kind of reset its algorithm, quote unquote, and allow it to choose from the beginning and then build through if you need to. Okay. So let's go ahead A102. And this one I am going to name level 1 plan view. Now I have an upstairs and a downstairs. Okay. Um, I'm not going to include them as part of this packet for right now. If you have an upstairs or a downstairs, you can go ahead and build an A103 and have it, to be your upstairs. I guess I'm going to go ahead and I guess let's just do it. I'll do it. If you don't have it, don't do it. Right? So if you don't have a basement, you don't need to build a basement sheet. Okay. So, but I'm going to build a new sheet. I'll call this A103 and I'll call this basement. And then just so I have it, okay, I'll call this one upstairs. Okay, so my numbers may be a little different than yours. Not a big deal. Okay, I'd rather have the sheet in there. And so I have something to drop my view on, right? All right, so, and that brings us to enlarge views. Cool. So after my enlarge views, I want to have a couple more sheets. So I'm going to make one more new sheet and call it exterior elevations. And maybe I'll get into it and I drop one of my elevations on there and I realize I need to add a few more, right? It's not a big deal to come back through and renumber these and add some more sheets into it if you need to. And then last but not least, we're going to build one more sheet and it's going to be called schedules. So at this point, we should have, looks like, what do we got? We got 5 sheets. We got a 3D house overall. I've got a level 1 plan view, a basement, and an upstairs, which you guys might not have. That's fine. An enlarged view, exterior elevations, and schedules. So you could do it with 5 sheets, right? That's fine. Considering that the enlarged views has all of your elevations, your floor plan, and that 3D view on it already. If you want to build more enlarged views and you want to build more sheets, by all means, go for it, right? This is just kind of the minimum of what you should have. And if you only have one floor, again, you're not going to have a basement or an upstairs, but we should have at least these basic five. All right. Any questions on that? Does everyone have those sheets built?
Do you have a recommendation for the interior elevations? Was that a requirement for the final?
It well, it isn't that on your enlarge view?
Yes.
That's why I was saying your enlarge view is taking care of those, all those views, so you don't need another sheet if you want it. So, and again, but if you have, other, interior elevations and you want to build more sheets, by all means, right? There's no limit. It's as easy as right clicking new sheet and then you're off and running, right? All right, so let's go ahead and I'm not going to go through the enlarged view sheet today. We already did that lesson. Again, please revisit last week's lesson if you need to learn how to do the interior elevations, the enlarged floor plan, as well as the 3D enlarged view. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our 3D house overall sheet, and let's just double click on it, and we'll bring this sheet up. Okay. And just because now that we have clicked into a bunch of sheets, we've created a bunch of sheets, we've been in a bunch of views, our tabs or our view tabs across the top here are kind of getting a little more than I want to manage, right? I don't like having more than a few things open because it just makes it longer to load and it makes it harder to get to the right view you want to go to. So let's go ahead and go to this A101 sheet. And I want you to go ahead and close everything else by using this button up here. And it is the close inactive views button. So it's this little button with a little red X. And what it's going to do is it's going to close all my other views besides the one I have open. So now we're just left with this one view. Okay, so just so everyone's on the same playing field, no one's got a ton of views open. We built a bunch of sheets. Now you kind of got all these other views, right? So that's a great way to clean up what you've got open and reset yourself back to kind of ground level, right? So let's go ahead and take a look. What is this sheet called?
3D house overall.
3D house overall. So what type of a view is going to go on this sheet?
Your 3D house overall?
There we go, right? That's simple. So, but before I drag this over, okay, let's go ahead and click into the view and let's make it appeal to the way that we want to view it so it can fit on the sheet nicely. So I have this 3D button. If you don't have a 3D view, you can come up here to this doghouse at the top and click this default 3D view. If you have one made, it will open it up. If you don't have one, it will create one for you. Okay. And when you click, why is this taking so long? All right, there we go. Because it's a big building. That's why. So you can see that I've got some other stuff in my model, right? I don't really want to have all of that extra stuff on my 3D view, nor do I want all this driveway and this other space. So what I want to do is I want to start by taking this view and we're going to crop it, but we're not going to crop it using the quote unquote crop features. Okay. We're going to use what's called a section box. So I want to go over to the left-hand side in our properties and I want to turn on this section box. Yours may already be on, it may not be on, but I want to make sure that that's toggled on. And when that's toggled on, as long as section boxes are active in your, right, if we go to our VG and we go down to annotation categories, if you don't see your section box, it's probably not turned on. Okay, yours should be turned on by default, but just in case, that's how to turn that on. And this section box is this big black box that surrounds this entire view. And when I click on this section box, I will get 6 different handles that come up, right? And that's what these handles are called. That's what's called this drag. Hold up a second, sorry. Sorry, my dog needed to go out. All right, so these are called handles. Okay, what they allow you to do is to drag left, right, north, south, east, west, up, down, right, and crop this view tight to you. So you can take this arrow, right, and I'm going to drag that back to there, to about the front of that side of the house. I can also click the top view in my view cube, and it's a little easier to see, where I'm dragging that. So yeah, I want that about there. This one here, I don't care about getting that the full deck on there. And then I'm going to bring this backside just nice and kind of tight in there. And when I do that, and now I click this view cube corner again, it's going to crop everything down. And I'm going to just take this and just to make it a little bit smaller, and I don't need such a high top to my box, right? And then I can bring the bottom up a little bit. So now I've got a view that I don't see all the extra extents of my project, right? I'm just seeing what I want to see. And I can come here and go to my visibility graphics and turn off these level lines if I don't want to see them. So I'll go to here and turn off levels under annotation categories. And I'm also going to turn off scope boxes. Leave on section boxes, but turn off scope boxes and levels. Once I do that, I should get a very nice and clean little crop view region of just my house. Yes, Steven.
Graham, do I need to go back to that crop box that you just pointed out earlier? I mean, I missed that part where you turn off where you went to.
Oh, so yeah, I went here, so I went to visibility graphics, right?
Oh, okay.
VG, and I turned off in the annotation categories, I turned off levels right there. And I also turned off scope boxes. Okay, so we're just left with this section box that is
All right.
giving us the extents.
Levels.
Now if I click any corner of this view cube, you'll see that this house now will rotate around center, right? Because you don't have all that extra extents to it. And maybe I like it. I kind of like that angle. So you don't have to use a perfect 3D ortho. You can hold your shift key and your middle mouse wheel, and it will allow you to orbit. Okay, and you can orbit all different directions, upside down, inside out, what have you. Again, to reset that, just click on the corner of the view cube, and it will get you back to a true orthographic projection. Okay. So now that I've taken this view and made it just the size that I want to, I'm going to go back to the sheet that I created for 3D House Overall, right? It's the other tab that I have up. And I'm going to drag Okay, come on. I'm going to drag. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong view. I'm going to drag my 3D view over. Now, that may look okay for some people, right? But does that fill the sheet? Does that? No, it doesn't, right? So right now, I'm currently at 1/8 inch equals a foot scale. I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can blow that up to 1/2 inch equals a foot. And if it will still fit on the drawing. So I changed it to 1/2 inch equals a foot. I'm going to close it and then just drag it back on. And when I do that, maybe 1/2 inch equals a foot is too big, right? So sometimes, yeah, that is too big. There's no way I'm going to be able to make that fit, right? Sometimes you got to play with it though, experiment and figure out what is the best size for this sheet. So I found out 1/2 inch equals a foot isn't great for me. Again, I like to delete this off the sheet rather than just changing the scale because when I throw it back on, it will crop this view title with it, right? Instead of it just kind of going off into space. So I'm going to delete that from the sheet. Go back to the 3D view. And so 1/2 inch equals a foot is too big. 1/8 inch equals a foot is too small. Okay, so I've got these couple other options. I got 3/8, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 3/16. I'm not a huge fan of 3/8 or 3/16 just because if you try to grab a scale rule with them, it would be very difficult to measure. When I came up through school, that's how we measured everything on plans is with a scale rule, right? So if I can avoid having a guy in the field or have somebody in the field have to measure it with a blue beam and convert to a weird fraction, I will. So I'm going to take that. It's now 1/4 inch equals a foot. That's a pretty good size for that sheet.
Graham, if you don't mind, can you repeat that? I can't get mine to drop into the sheet. If you could repeat that one more time.
Why don't you share your screen and I'll and we'll look at it all together.
Okay.
All right. So you can't drop yours on because you're trying to drop the actual sheet onto itself. So scroll up in your project browser. That's down. Keep going. Okay, so do you have a 3D? Did you build a 3D view? You've got it open. So go to the next tab over this. So you've got a little house under the project browser. Yeah, right there. Go to the right one. One to the right. It says views. Now scroll down. See if you can find that 3D view. Oh, it's probably collapsed under coordination. Open that coordination tab at the bottom. There you go. Now open that 3D views. Click the plus button. No, click the plus button.
Oh, click the plus button.
You can't drag the whole category. You just got to drag a view. So scroll down. You'll now see the 3D views on there. You can rename that like 3D overall house if you want, or you can just drag and drop it. I don't care. But now if you drag and drop that on, it will.
Oh shit! What did I just do?
You tried to rename it. And I love it that Revit defaults name something with brackets in it. However, if you try to rename it, it says you can't use these brackets. It's like, why do you use them to begin with? So 3D overall would be great.
Okay.
And then just drag that from there onto the sheet. Now let go. There you go. Bingo.
Right.
Yeah, and that actually looks pretty good. Now, when you print it, that giant scope box won't be there anymore. Okay. And if it is there, it's not a big deal, right? That's something that when you do PDF it, by default, those always go away. Okay. So you can also turn it off so you don't see it. But again, I just leave it how it is right now.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. I'll go back to my share. So we got one sheet done. Oh, what screen are you seeing? I don't think you're seeing the right one.
The attendance was
Yeah.
what popped up.
Okay, let's do this. Get you that one. All right, now you should see my house.
Yes.
All right. And again, if you wanted to get that box here to not show, okay, we could go to our visibility graphics and turn that section box off in the annotation category. And now it's going to crop it to that section box, but this line physically won't be there anymore. Okay, so that big, if that big block, black cube bothers you, you can turn that off in your visibility graphics. But we need to make sure that it's checked on over here, so then that way you can actually crop to it. If you take this off, then it's just going to show you the entire extent of your project, right? There's nothing saying, hey, crop this anymore.
What's the name of that box again?
That's the section box.
Section box.
All right, so let's go to the next one, which is our level 1 plan view. Okay. And just like before, we need to figure out what type of a scale is going to work best for us. So if I just drag this main floor on, oh gosh, it's massive. It's not cropped. Okay, bad idea, right? So if you drag something on there and it's like, this is so big for my project, first things first, delete it, go back into your view, and now let's crop this up. So I'm going to actually turn on my crop view on here, crop region visible, and I'm going to take this crop and I'm just going to crop it right up to where my house is. So that way, the next time I drop it on a sheet, okay, it fits. Could I make it bigger? Absolutely. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to 1/4 inch scale with that one. So I'll change it to 1/4 inch scale. And I think this will be pretty good. That fits rather nicely on there. And then just like before with the section box, if I didn't want to see it, okay, if this really bothered me, you could turn the crop region visible off, but we want to leave that crop view on. Otherwise, there's nothing telling it to stay cropped. Okay, so you could turn this off and that line will go away. And now I've got a floor plan of my level 1. And is everything dimensioned? No, but the exterior is, and that's really what I'm looking for. Okay. The interior, yeah, I've got some work to do, and I will want to put some basic dimensions in here, tell you how big these rooms are, right? So, all right, any questions on the plan view? We got about a half hour left tonight, so I know that we're going to be moving through this a little bit. But ultimately, everything that we're doing is the same thing, right? You're dragging and dropping views on, you're resetting the scale of that view to make it fit the sheet more appropriately, right? So it's the same thing, just with what type of view are we looking at? Are we looking at a 3D, a floor plan, a elevation, an enlarged view, right? So it's the same process, just different tasks. So let's go to, I don't want to deal with my basement or upstairs because you may not have them. So let's go ahead and go to my exterior elevations. Now, here's one place that you may want to create more sheets if you have massive elevations. And when I put mine on there, I'll probably make the decision right off the bat, I can't fit all these on here. Okay. One thing that I like to do, if I'm using 1/4 inch scale here in my floor plan, that's the same scale that I want to use for my elevation. Okay. And then anything that's an enlarged view would be double that scale, or at least double that scale, right? So our plan view would be 1/4. This 3D view is 1/4, right? And then, so our exterior elevations, they should as well be 1/4, right? Get everything to match, okay? And if that means that you need to make another sheet so you could fit them all, then you need to make another sheet, okay? Exterior elevations 1, exterior elevations 2, maybe it's exterior elevations north, south, east, and west, right? If you need 4 sheets, you need 4 sheets, okay? So let's go ahead and go to one of these elevations. Again, I placed these on at the beginning of our night tonight, so they have not been named. So before I do anything else, I'm going to come here and I'm going to name these elevations. Now, you could just come here and and name them in the project browser. But the problem with just naming them in this project browser, I don't know where elevation 1A is, right? I don't know which one that is. So, but if I click on it in the actual view, now I can see that this is elevation 2A, and I'm going to call this west elevation. And while I'm in here, might as well go ahead and bring these a little tighter so we can save ourselves some time on the next step. Okay, so we want to do this for all 4 of our elevations. Okay, make sure that they're not only named, but they're cropped so that you're seeing just the width of your building, and then your view depth here is about halfway into your building. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to capture the peaks of the roofs, if you have one, right? If you don't, it's not a big deal. You could just go to the edge of the wall. But in this instance, right, if I just went to here, right, I'm technically not even catching this wall, right? So I would only be showing, and you can see that right here. I'm not even catching that next portion, right? Whereas if I take this far clipping offset and say, hey, instead of it being 27 feet, I'm going to make it 50 feet. Now I can see the extent, see into the middle of the building. I see that roof line. I see everything I need to see, right? So let's get all of your elevations named and set up for the crop view. And then we will put them to the right scale, right? And you could do that here. You could just go ahead while you're in here and just change this to 1/4 inch scale. If you've detailed those views already, it will stretch out your dimensions. However, it'll probably make them just look a lot cleaner, and you might just need to move them around a little bit to make it look as clean as you want. Right. So bring that here. Bring this guy over. And bring this up, something like that. And if I click on all of these views, if I hold control and then click this next elevation, click the next elevation, click the next elevation, I could change the scale for all of them at once without having a template applied. So I could just go ahead here and change these all to 1/4 inch scale. So that way, when I start looking at the views, they're already going to be scaled the right size for me.
Sorry, Greg. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What could be the reason why I can change the scale in my floor plan view? It's
Because you've got a template on that's holding your scale. So if you try to change a scale to something and it's grayed out, like right now it's not grayed out, but if I had a template on this, okay, and now I try to change that scale, and it actually went away because it threw something off there. But ultimately, this is going to get grayed out. If you need to change the scale of something that's on a template, which I'm actually going to put this on a template, so it's a great segue. But let me finish naming these real quick, and then we'll do that. So north elevation, east elevation, and then this will be the south elevation. All right. So if these are being controlled by a view template, which we did build a view template for our section views early in like week 2 or 3. And if you're still using that, that's great. You can use it. We just want to make sure that if I have an elevation view, so I'm going to go to this view real quick. And that looks pretty good. I like everything I'm seeing there. I'm going to come here and click View Templates, Create Template from Current View. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this Exterior Elevation. The scale set at a 1/4 inch. I'm going to click OK. And now, so this is where you would be running into the problem, Dimitri, is now if you had a view template that was applied, right? So I'll make sure that this template is on here. It's called exterior elevation. If that's applied and you try to click this, now it's grayed out, right? You can't change this now that it's being held by the template. But you can change it right here by just activating the template and changing the scale at the top. And
Okay.
the advantage of this is now I can take all of these section views and apply that template to it, and they're all going to behave the same, right? So if I change it from shaded to wireframe, all of them will move. If I change them from quarter inch to eighth inch, all of it's going to move, right? So then that way you're not making a bunch of tweaks in one view and then having to go to 3 other views and do all the same tweaks, right? You can just do it once, apply the template, and all of those views are going to behave and look the exact same.
Hey, Graham, I got a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
So on a sheet, is it possible to put, okay, on exterior elevations, is it possible to put 2 elevations on one sheet? South,
Sure.
south.
That's where we're going next.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we've taken a look at these, either creating these or changing the size of the scale if you need to, right? So it matches the rest of your package. In this case, I'm using quarter inch scale for pretty much everything. I'll change that for enlarged, right? The enlarged scale, if you look at this, is actually half inch. So it's double my quarter inch scale. So let's go to the exterior elevation sheet. So if multiple elevations can fit on the same sheet, you can place multiple elevations. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just drag my east elevation on here. Okay, and you see that I could probably, and I'm going to just try to do this, but I might be able to get, it's going to be really tight. But if I bring this line up, maybe I want to get rid of some of the reference planes that I'm seeing because I drew a bunch of planes in for the roofs that I had to draw. So I'll turn those reference planes off. That'll clean that up a little bit. I can crop this down. Right. So any cropping that you do to get it tighter allows your view to be smaller and allows you to place more and other views on your sheet. Drag those lines in. And now I've kind of cropped that about as small as I can make it while still being quarter inch scale. And let's see if I can drag other views on there. So there's my west view. And again, I hadn't cropped the elevation of that yet. So if I just do it like this, right, and I crop it when it's on the sheet, it's going to leave this behind. Not a big deal. You can drag it up. But if you did crop it prior to coming onto the sheet, then it would automatically move with that. So let's see. Why does this not have? I must not be seeing. Now let's go to north elevation. And this might get a little tight again, but you can take these lines and kind of drag them in if you need to create some more space. Crop this a little bit tighter. Every little tiny inch helps. Maybe it'd be better to put this view next to this one. And then last but not least, I've got my south elevation to put up here. And let's see, can I get that? Yeah, I can get that quite a bit tighter here. There we go. So even at quarter-inch scale, and with this being a pretty large house, I was able to get all those views onto one sheet. Okay. Do you have to? No. Could I have made 4 sheets? That probably would have been easier, right? Than to try to do what I just did. But Steven was wanting to know, so there you go. You can put multiples on a sheet as long as they fit. Now, if this doesn't fit, like if this is like this, right? Make another sheet, right? We don't need you to be into the title block area just because you're trying to throw too much on there, right? Questions, comments, concerns about elevations? We got 15 minutes left and we're going to go into schedules. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to schedules. This is the last sheet. Again, I have, a few extra sheets, this basement and upstairs, that don't have any content on them yet. But you may not have an upstairs or a basement, so I didn't want to spend time there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this schedule sheet, the last one that we built. And just like before, right, we now have to create a view, or we've got to do something so we can drag it over. But at this point, I don't have any schedules created. So let's go ahead and create some schedules. So what type of schedules might be applicable to a typical house project?
Doors, windows, walls.
Okay, perfect. Doors, windows, walls. That's a great 3 schedules to start with. Okay, so I'm going to go to Windows. I'm going to make a Windows schedule. And so again, I'll start over. I start by right-clicking on schedules and new schedule / quantities. And then I'm going to go down and type in W, and it's going to get me down to the W's, and I'm going to select Windows, and I'm going to create a Windows schedule. Now, when I click OK, another menu is going to come up, and it's going to say, hey, these are all the parameter fields that are available for Windows. Which ones would you like to use? So, and I would like to use the family and type. And so these are the available fields. Once you select what you want, you can click this green add parameter button. And this is now a field that's in your schedule, right? So I want family and type. I want height, width, maybe sill height, and I'll do quantity as well, or count. Sorry, not quantity, count. And I can go ahead and click OK. It's going to build me a schedule. However, that schedule is not super, super useful for me right now because it has a bunch of quantities of 1, right? So right now, if I tried to order off this, what would I need to do? Have to go through and add all the same types together, right? And write it all down again. So let's make Revit work for us, not against us. And instead of itemizing every instance, which if you go to the filter tool, right, we've got a filter by none, and we don't need to filter anything for this project. Maybe I wanted to do it level 1, maybe basement, right? I could assign different levels or whatnot for the windows. But for this, we're going to go to sorting and grouping. And down at the bottom, we have this itemize every instance button. And so what that's doing right now is it's saying, hey, every single instance in this project, I'm going to show you as a 1, as a single line item. So if we turn this off, and then we sort by the family and type, and we click OK, it's going to take all of these same families and types.
How did you, can you repeat again? What did you do right now?
To get where?
How can you enter the schedule properties?
Right here. On the left-hand side, you click any of these edit buttons, and it will bring you to whatever one. Like I clicked filter, if you click the wrong one here, it doesn't matter. You can change across the top tab, right? So all 5 of these buttons will lead you to this menu.
Okay.
And then you can choose which one. So we want to go to sorting and grouping. We want to take itemize every instance off. We want to sort by family and type. And then if I click OK, what it's going to do is it's going to combine any of those types that are the same, and that count should start to reflect how many instances there are, right? So if I click OK, I now have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different types. And you can see the counts of each one of those windows, right? So now I could take this and give this to somebody. Do I need the cell height on ordering windows? Maybe not. Maybe that's too much for that person, right? So maybe I want to just hide that column, right? Simplify it, right? Maybe you want to see the cell height, but maybe somebody else doesn't, right? So, in this case, right, it's not helping me order anything. I just hit it. Okay. So yeah, window schedule. You can also turn on, if you wanted to, go to sorting and grouping. You can also turn on this grand totals, and it will tell me that I've got a total of 38 windows in the project. And once that schedule is built, I can hit the plus button next to the schedules and take this window schedule and drag and drop it right onto my sheet.
Is there a way to
Now,
make it bigger, Grant? Sorry.
huh?
I was like, is there a way to resize it?
There is, but I don't want you to.
Okay.
The reason being is this is the text size that I want you to have. So anything bigger is just going to be more white space. Okay.
I just wasn't sure because mine's like so minuscule. I'm just like, it's so tiny on the page.
Yeah.
Same.
So the one thing I do want it to do is if it looks like this, where you've got columns that are multiple lines high, I want you to take these adjustment bars and make the width of the column wide enough so that you only have 1 row per column. Does that make sense? So like here, right, you've got this is doubled up. By stretching it out, then you can, and I know it makes it smaller, Cat, right? But it makes it a much more legible when you're not having to jump down a half a line, right?
Totally. I just wasn't sure if it was like, if you're okay with it being so tiny
Well,
overall.
I totally am, because the other option, okay, I could make this, the size of my drawing. But in order to do that and actually fill up the space, I'm now using like massive text size, right? Every text is the size of this like Autodesk, right? So I'm fine with with schedules that are small, right? If I look at any of my drawings, they have small schedules. Maybe they have a giant schedule because there's a lot of items, right? But all of them are going to read the same, right? We're not going to change that text size. So it's just going to follow suit with how the schedule is. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's build one more schedule together. Let's go ahead and build a door schedule. So again, we're going to right click on schedules and quantities. It's going to bring up a list of all the categories of schedules that are available. Earlier, we clicked in here and I typed in W, which gets me down to windows, walls, whatever. This time, I'm going to type in D and click on doors. And same as before, we need to look at what our available fields are and what we want to schedule. So I always schedule family and type. That's pretty much, I always schedule family and type, your width and your height if applicable. And then I include a count field, and that allows me to take that itemize every instance off and allow multiple types to add together. So then that way you can see you've got 8 instances of this, right? That count field is really important if you want to take off your itemize every instance.
Ah, okay.
All right. So I've got family and type, width, height, and count on my door schedule. And again, it gives me a giant list. Does that look great? I mean, it schedules everything, but it's not being super useful. So I'm going to come here and go to the filter tool or the sorting and grouping. And I want to sort by family and type, take the itemize every instance off, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn grand totals on, which is going to give me a total count of how many doors there are in the project. And just like that. Now, if I wanted to go a little farther, maybe I cared about breaking it out by level, right? I could actually show you everything that's on the first floor and then everything by family and type. And it'll break it out. So here's all your basement stuff that's together. Here's all your main floor counts that are together. And there's all your upstairs, right? So just by picking different parameters, you can sort and filter and show the schedule in any different way you want. So super useful. And now we've got something that's accurately reflecting the data that's in the building. And what happens if I take this door or window or whatever it is and I make a change? What happens to that schedule?
That's updated.
Automatically updated. You don't even need to think about it. You print a new PDF set, it's auto updated, right? So since everything works together, right? If I change the sill height here, maybe I change this to basement, right? Any new information I plug in here is going to report on that schedule. And that's not only for Windows, that's for every element that's in Revit. Everything can be scheduled besides like detail lines. Any questions? I know that, and I'm not looking for something super complicated for your schedules, right? Give me something basic, just like we did. Windows and doors. Maybe put one in with walls, right? And you can think, okay, what do I need for walls? You need your family and type. You need your length of the wall. And that's probably about all you need, right? Maybe a count for them. How many do you have in the project? Before I go, the last time, and this is the last time I will mention it, 2 weeks ago, we had our class that we built a Revit family table, right? If you use that table twice in 2 different instances in your project, it's an extra credit point. Okay. So that's a 5% bump just for throwing that table in there. Okay.
And you said we have to use it twice.
You have
right?
to use it twice, 2 different types, right? So make one of them a nightstand, one of them a dining table, maybe one of them a coffee table, right? I don't want 2 dining tables. If you want to use 12 nightstands or whatever, fine, go for it. But I need at least 12 nightstands and 1 dining table, right? Or 2 different types. Okay. You will earn a half a credit point for 1 if you just put 1 in. Okay. But if you want the full point, of 2 different types. All right. Questions?
I have a question about wall schedules.
Okay.
So threw one together. Area comes up as varies. Count comes up as between 6 and 27. Grand total is 60. Is there any way to have it show square foot? I feel like that's more more helpful than count.
There
I think it's counting
is.
segments.
It just depends on how you're. So let's just build one together. So I'll build a wall schedule. Wall schedule, and I'll do. Let's see. Let's do family and type. Let's do length. Now there should be an area, but I don't know if it's going to what area that's
Area
going.
is what gives me varies. I think
Okay, but it's
because
giving you varies because it's giving you you're not sorting it out far enough.
right.
So let's go ahead and click area as well. What other, and then I'll do count. Is there anything
Yeah,
else
I
you
just
had?
did family and type, area, count was just the three that I picked.
No length?
I didn't, but that does make sense.
Okay. All
This
right.
is just to kind of put something together.
So there it is right there. So when you're dealing with square footage areas, right, and you're trying to deal with if I went here, okay, and I said, hey, I want to sort by family and type, it will sort by family and type, right? The
Right.
problem is then it's going to try to combine family and type with other ones that aren't the same square footage. So then you're getting varies on there. Right.
Yes, that
So,
makes sense.
so right, because now I just sorted them, but every instance is still on. So if I turn this off, right, I'm going to start getting varies. Okay. Now,
Boom. There
what I can do is, it's probably best in this case to actually sort by family and type, then by length, then by area. Okay. And any that you have multiples of, you could come up with a count. But now, like right there, this wall, I've got two of these that are 30 square feet, right? I've got two of these that are 63 square feet. All the rest of these are one offs, right? But I can schedule it like this, and then I can come here to my sorting and grouping, my formatting, and go to area and come down and do a calculate totals. And when I do that, now at the bottom,
you went from 30 to 60.
right? So it added both of those together. So it's saying, hey, that's the total of your area. And now if I take the grand totals and put it back on, I have 8,835 square feet of area, right? So you can take that off, right? I can there's lots of different ways to sort this and group this. I can do it just by that.
And one more time in the area, how did you get it to calculate?
I went to formatting, area, and then calculate totals.
Perfect.
So then and then if you did that, then you can do this. And you can go to sorting and grouping, family and type. And now I'm just left with family and type. I don't even care about what my length is. And I've got 885 square foot of that type of wall. I've got 5,292 square foot of that type of wall, right? That's more useful to you, right?
Yeah,
So it's
that's
however you
actually
want to
exactly
break
what I
it
was
out.
looking for.
So it's all about the scheduling is all about what information's in there and how do you want to output it.
Nice.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
But that's what makes Revit so much more powerful than AutoCAD is that we can manipulate this. We can sort it. We can filter it. We can add things together. We can have all these schedules that are live report different things. We can have duplicates of the same schedule, right? I could have 12 wall schedules and all of the wall schedules could be different. I could have one of them for length of the walls. I could have one of them for square footage of the wall. I could have one of them for square footage of these walls, which have double drywall on them, right? So I'm adding a formula and multiplying that because I need 2 layers of rock, right? So
Right.
you see where that can go.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but
Very
all that information needs to be in there for you to be able to extract it, right?
perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Great question. All right. One last things? If not, I will be in person at 5 o'clock and on office hours next week. And again, projects are due at the end of class next week. So that's, 168 hours from now. So you got a full week still. So, and realistically, these projects, a lot of them are pretty much to the point they just need to be wrapped up and put together, right? So get those dimensions on there, get your schedules and your views on your sheets, and build a quality product that you're proud of, right? And if you build something nice, you can use it for something else later. Capstone projects, I don't know exactly what you guys need. But I do know that people have taken these models and used them elsewhere and have been very glad they put the time in up front because they were reaping rewards on the back end because of how good it looked, right? So, take some pride in your work and provide a product that's quality. And the biggest thing is I need to be able to take these plans and quote unquote build it, right? I need to know where that window lives. I need to know how high that window is, right? Give me the sill height, give me those dimensions in your elevation views, right? Give me your dimensions of your countertops, right? Am I going to build these? No, but I need to be able to take it and understand where things go. If I don't know where that counter is going to go or where that window goes, that's not a constructible set of plans, right? And it doesn't have to be fancy, but it needs to be accurate. It needs to show me where to go frame that window. Yes, I can do some math and you just give me center of window. That's great. Okay. I don't care for every edge, right? But I need to know where something is. I need something to reference where your different items are in the model. If it can move furniture, don't dimension furniture, right? There's no reason. If you can rearrange a room, don't dimension it, right? Okay, so I don't need dimensions to where your bed is because we could take that bed and turn it 90 degrees and now it's not the same, right? But that room layout is always going to be the same until you demo that wall and, blow through it and remodel, right?
Graham, quick question. Should we upload PDF file or Revit file?
You could, you can just do a Revit file. Just your .rvt is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll set up a Dropbox just in case it's too big for you to upload.
Okay.
Okay. I know some projects get kind of large, so some people have issues. I've had issues in the past. It seems like the Canvas server has been working better as of late, accepting larger files from students, although I still can't post my videos on it, but it's a whole different story. That's a massive files. So all right. Well, thank you everybody for your time, and I will see you next week. Again, if you do not want to come, please turn in your final project prior, and they're due end of class, which is essentially 9 o'clock next week. Right? Please don't be that person that's holding on to your final project, and I'm spending 2 days trying to reach out to you, and then I can't even give you a grade because you don't answer the phone. Okay? So please turn in your project. I always have to track 1 or 2 down. Let's make that not happen this semester. Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody, and I will go ahead and get this video uploading tonight. So hopefully it can be there first thing tomorrow for you guys.
Good night.
Thanks, Graham.
Good night. Thanks, Kat. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Graham. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, I am. I had a stomach bug this morning that just not great.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's been a weird not flu going around. So it takes a couple days, like 3 days, you'll feel better.
Yep, it'll be good. So, right on. Well, thank you guys. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
All right.